So I do not know what's going on in the ATP. I just don't have the bandwidth. So, wish them luck.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
I'm James.
We're going to have to start with another retraction or clarification because I lied on the last episode.
You did.
I said that Alex de Minaur did not play Davis Cup when in fact he did play Davis Cup and then went on to play Laver Cup the following week. So he was part and parcel of the reason why Australia lost.
Oh.
It was part of it.
I figured it just felt like the curse of Hewitt and that weird case against him.
He partook in that debacle, is all I'm saying. I don't know about you, but this 12-day Masters thing that we've been having to deal with full-time this year has really kind of screwed with our production schedule.
It has, because it doesn't match up with the days that we have off at the same time anymore. And it's also, it's hard enough to follow these extended Masters when they're in the same time zone as us and in a, to be frank, a more exciting part of the annual schedule. But it's really hard following it now.
I quite literally changed my work schedule in January 2024 so that I'd have Saturday nights, Sunday all day, and Monday all day off so that we could record anytime during those days. And now the tournaments are just not tournamenting
I bet you
for
didn't
us
know,
during that time.
Bet you didn't know we were going to get Thursday finals, Monday finals here and there.
It's also just taken the steam out of tournaments, quite frankly. I'm tired of looking at an order of play with 4 or 5 days left in a tournament and there's 4 singles matches or 2 singles matches. It's just not giving.
Novak Djokovic said, I didn't like it back then and I told you, but the players really didn't do anything to fight it, so here we are.
And you said that's my king.
No, I said I am really into that version of him. That resonates with me.
In Beijing, the men were there last week. Jannik Sinner beat kind of a surprise finalist in Lerner Tien 6-2, 6-2. I don't think anybody was surprised by that result, that scoreline. But what was surprising was how Lerner got there. What a result. I am so here for Lerner having his big moment. Well, the start of his big moment. I did pick him to break out this year.
Yes, it was a good pick. You tweeted the other day something about the kind of the newcomer of the year is really a race between Tien and Fonseca. I think Tien's year is more impressive.
That's not at all what I didn't tweet, I skeeted.
Oh, sorry. I don't want people to get the wrong idea again.
What I said was, everybody's up here paying attention to the race for number 1, year in number 1, but what I'm more interested in is who of Lerner and João is going to finish higher in the rankings this year, given that they both played the final of the Next Gen situation last year. Fonseca won that. And currently, Lerner is ahead of João by about 5 spots in the rankings. I think Lerner is up to 37 in the live rankings, and Fonseca is just outside the top 40.
Okay. João has a tournament win this year in Buenos Aires, his one and only title. Lerner hasn't won a title, but he's got those 5 wins over top 10 opponents, which I heard yesterday is 3rd on the tour behind Carlos and Jannik.
Who did you hear that
really
from?
Impressive. From you, so I hope it's true.
Well, I read it from somewhere, so I hope they're telling the truth.
Because retraction will be imminent if...
Also of note in Beijing, Daniil Medvedev has been having an awful season. He's been going through it. He's been acting a fool while going through it. But lo and behold, he gets to play that guy, and Bob's your uncle.
Lately, no matter how bad Daniil is feeling, no matter in what state the career is, you can depend on him to beat that guy. This time it was 6-3, 6-3 in the quarterfinals of Beijing. Then, of course, he moves on to the semifinals, and there was that whole thing going on. He had to eventually retire in the third set versus Teen with cramps. He was issued a code violation for lack of best effort while he was cramping. The tournament referee agreed with the umpire. It's kind of crazy, to be honest, because it was clearly visible that he was cramping. And of course, there are different rules about medical timeouts and stuff. You can get treatment for cramping, but you're not supposed to have a full medical timeout under the rules. And this is actually an improvement over how it used to be.
After the match, the tour issued a statement saying, quote, "Upon reviewing the incident during Daniil Medvedev's semifinal match in Beijing, ATP officiating has determined that the, quote, best efforts code violation was issued in error. This was communicated to Medvedev and his team following the match, and no fine will be imposed." You were saying to me that this is how you know that Medvedev was really struggling. The fact that he wasn't acting up on court while this was going on.
He said he's been trying to be good because he feels like things are going to get worse for him if he acts crazy like that on court again. And I feel like that's how you could tell he was actually telling the truth. He knew he was right. He didn't completely fly off the handle this time. But this is very unusual. This is not something you see often. Usually a tournament supervisor or the referee is not going to disagree with the ump in the moment. Like, that's typical. But for the ATP to issue the statement and say, actually, that was wrong, and you will not have to pay a fine, that's news.
In Tokyo, Carlos Alcaraz won his 8th tournament of the season, 24th overall of his career, and he did so on a busted ankle, which he busted in his first match of the tournament against Baez. Still won that in straight sets, beat Casper Ruud in the semis, beat Taylor Fritz in the final in straight sets 6-4, 6-4. A very good week for him, considering how it started out. And when you consider, too, that everybody was talking about how Taylor Fritz finally got that win against Alcaraz at Laver Cup, and this means so much. This is amazing. Great job. The very next week, Carlos comes back and says, hold up, I'm still here. I'm still me.
He has withdrawn from the Rolex Shanghai Masters. Please don't forget the Rolex. So we've got Sinner and Alcaraz both winning 500s in the same week. Beijing men's overlapped a little bit with the 1,000 level tournament for the women. Some big results there. Emma Navarro, aka Little Rich, according to the Chinese fans, which is hilarious.
Where did you see this?
I saw it online.
Anywhere more specific than that?
No, I've seen it before. No, I've seen it multiple times. They call Pegula Big Rich and Emma Navarro Little Rich, which is too funny to me. Anyway, Emma Navarro beats Iga Swiatek. That was a head scratcher for me.
I woke up and I had to look at the score for a good minute and a half to make sense of it. Because how do you mean Emma Navarro is having Iga eat a bagel in the third set? Mm-hmm. I immediately wondered if she was injured, and apparently not.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, Iga has made a lot of headway with the big hitters, standing firm on the baseline and, you know, weathering the storm. And is she sort of taking a few steps back against the really steady, just will get every ball back, counter-puncher style opponent where she has to dictate a little bit more?
Is she tired? It's the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's tired.
But yet again, this is not Iga running away with the season. Running away with the tour like you predicted.
Fine.
In Beijing, Coco Gauff attempted to defend her title from last year. She ran into Belinda Bencic, who was up a set and a break on Coco, and looked to be in a very good position until she lost her blob.
Mm-hmm.
And Coco even said after the match, you know, when all that's going down, that's just going to kind of incentivize me. It's going to light a wick of a candle. It's going to spark something to regenerate the good feelings.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Belinda was mad about apparently Coco's team making too much noise on her end while she was trying to serve. And so she's like complaining to the umpire, bitch on the...
Say what now?
I mean, bitching.
Okay.
On the changeover. And Coco looks over and says something, and Belinda snaps her head and says, "No one's talking to you."
Girl.
That would have really taken me a moment. I would have had to breathe and think about how I would respond to that.
No, you would have reacted. You'd have responded. There would have been no breathing.
And that's true. My best self would have breathed and said, I'm going to let you be yourself right now. And that's what Coco did.
Your theoretical best self.
Sure. But Coco said, what? Just be respectful if you have a problem. And she said, I'm always cool with your team. In the press conference, she was gracious and she's like, we don't have a beef at all. Like, I respect Belinda a lot for what she's accomplished and coming back from having a baby and everything. I don't know what that was. But it was a real Martina Hingis performance. It reminded me of the other Swiss Miss in the 1999 French Open final, where she blew this huge lead against Steffi Graf and just totally lost her mind.
You're very here for this comparison.
I am. Well, Martina is one of her idols. They're both Swiss, and a lot of people don't like them. And it reminds me why I don't like her. When you stand up for an abuser, you always lose.
Not always.
Alleged.
But when you do, it's pleasing.
You may not lose in tennis, but you lose in life.
Okay. Who's not losing in life or tennis right now is Amanda Anisimova. We go from her losing the Wimbledon final, love, with folks wondering, will she ever be able to put this behind her? And all she does is make the US Open final. And now here she is in the Beijing final after beating Coco Gauff easily in the semifinals. Amanda Anisimova is a consistent top flight force in tennis right now. And listen, Linda Noskova is another story of somebody who is coming to the fore in women's tennis.
I love this for her because it's been interrupted, right? Like, she's been coming for a while, and she had that huge breakthrough beating Iga at the Australian Open, which is over a year and a half ago now.
You did not acknowledge my listen, Linda thing. Just
I totally missed it.
It was cleverly done.
Okay.
There was like a pause in between. It was like grammatically different. Mm-hmm. It took some doing.
Like poetry.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. No, I'm really happy for Linda to reach this 1,000 final. She saved 3 match points against Pegula late in that match.
As of this recording, that final has not happened yet. We're not going to wait until tomorrow to record just because this final hasn't happened yet.
No.
We have summer weather in October in Toronto right now just for this weekend. And so we're going to make use of that tomorrow.
Yeah. Why can't players just be normal when they go to Asia? Why is it always the shit every time?
Lorenzo Musetti. What on earth was he doing?
Okay, he said in Italian, these fucking Chinese, or these damn Chinese. I honestly don't know how rough Stikazzi is translated, you know? But either way, he was complaining about the Chinese fans coughing. Just weird. Why?
Why are you fixating on that? Well, you can totally understand how somebody would fixate on that.
Totally, but just insert another ethnic or religious group and think about how crazy that sounds. I'm not going to lecture. You guys are the choir. I'm not going to preach to you why that's a wild thing to say. He was led to apologize very quickly. Fans did boo him off the court, which, what do you expect, dude? Yeah, you apologize, but it was just yesterday.
They booed him onto the court for the next match as well. And then there was this whole discussion about which was worse. Was Lorenzo's transgression worse than Taylor Townsend's?
Always a competition. Both bad. I don't know. I don't know why it's valuable to compare. We already gave her whackings last time.
As for Taylor, she cited injury and just peaced out. She's like, I'm going home.
Somebody on social media resurfaced that screenshot of the Instagram post that we've referred to several times, but I could not find it for the life of me few months ago.
Whose Instagram post?
It was a post by Musetti from a few years ago with another Italian player, and they were like in an embrace on a couch, and it said F with 5 asterisks, which is the same length as the Italian F slur. Basically, it's a different word, but you can piece together what it meant. He said, "Oh, haha, it meant familia," which not the same number of letters, by the way.
Because there's a G in there, isn't there?
Yes. In familia?
Yes.
Yes. John Wertheim answered a question about this on his mailbag this week, and he said, quote, "We should consider the overall bodies of work and conduct," unquote, like before canceling someone. And this was an argument in favor of giving Musetti some grace here. I will consider the overall body of work as well and include that Instagram post in my personal assessment. To be fair to John, he may not know that exists. I'm not advocating canceling anyone. It's worth mentioning.
Right. We just always end up into this discourse dialogue about trying to explain away why this isn't as bad as you all are taking it to be.
Right. And again, it's like, I am white, John is white, Wertheim, to be clear. The apology is not for me, right? It's not for me to say it's okay or not. I was not the target.
I mean, I'm just so bored by this. I'm inclined to just hammer away when people do this kind of stuff, you know?
No, you're right.
Let them have their lashings for a little bit.
I don't...
Hopefully learn a lesson. We know we're all going to move on. Mm-hmm. Y'all are going to bury that Instagram post as quickly as you possibly can, to the point where it's so difficult to find a year or 2 years later. They'll be fine. I promise you. Mm-hmm. Your fave will be fine.
I really don't have the fire for that anymore, honestly. Like, I was listening to The Read today, and I know people sort of roasted them for how hard they went on Cardi B a few weeks ago, talking about how she chooses to live her life, and personally, I don't care. But, I don't know, listening to The Read today, I was like, oh, God, okay, I get it. You don't like it. Let's move on. And I'm like, oh, I hope that is not what we sound like.
So when
it just went on and on and on and on.
So when you were supposed to be listening to Here For It All, and then...
Oh, no, actually, funny you should mention that. I had to switch to a different app because you were listening to the album on Spotify. So like, okay, let me listen to a podcast instead.
Okay. A few folks have qualified for the year-end championships on both tours. Madison Keys has officially qualified. She joins Sabalenka, Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Anisimova. And on the men's side, only Carlos and Jannik have qualified to date. Novak is the third in line, number 3 player right now, and he has exactly half of Jannik's race points.
This was as of yesterday. He had precisely half. So there's actually no guarantee that the number 3 player will qualify.
Somehow this feels like it's so far away, but we are already in the first week of October, and I just know that it's a stone's throw away. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't feel like it.
It's really close.
On a recent episode, we asked you all to follow us on Instagram. And part of the reason for that is that we're going to be using it more. And it's one of the tools that we use to reach out to listeners in between episodes. For example, a couple days ago, we sent out on Blue Sky and Instagram requests for any questions you may want answered on air. And so that's what the remainder of this episode is going to be. A lot of them are topical to things that are currently happening, so hopefully it won't feel too disjointed.
We got so many good questions too. I'm excited about answering these. And yes, we need content, and that is a partial answer to the first 2 questions we're going to talk about here.
From @Pissy there's an argument raised by several people at this time of year that, unlike other sports, tennis season ends on a low note. How much do you care? And how much do you think fans care about the post-USO pre-finals tournaments? Do you think the Asia swing is ideally positioned in the calendar?
And we got another question from @AwkwardTallGuy that's really similar. And they ask, is there a way to fit the Asian tennis swing in a part of the calendar so that it becomes more relevant? It seems like the players and the fans are going through the motions right now, and it isn't fair to the amazing fans in Asia.
It's in part a function of the focus of the tennis season being squarely centered around the 4 majors. What is this part of the season heading towards, leading towards? The year-end championships. Only a handful of players are going to make those tournaments. That's the main thing to follow along for. There's year-end number 1, I guess. There's maybe you're following your faves rise up the rankings during the fall season. But nobody's playing toward Australia right now.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of the year, when you go to Australia, to New Zealand, when you're in Doha for the men, I think they start the year there sometimes too. There's been a tournament in India. There's a lot of tournaments happening all over the globe in January. They're all leading up to the imminent Australian Open. And then you have the Sunshine Swing, which is kind of its own kind of contained situation because it's not really leading up to anything. You're just getting a respite or a tack on to the hard court schedule before you head off to clay. Mm-hmm. And then you're heading into the French, and you're always heading into something else. This part of the season, you're not really heading into anything. And on top of that, you have players who are gassed. Like, they are completely spent for the most part. And we as viewers, a lot of us, are spent as well. It's a long season following week to week to week to week. And the moment you take a week or two off, it can be hard to get back into the swing of things once for us and for folks in North America. This tour is exclusively in a completely different time zone.
Yeah, the time zone thing is always going to be difficult for the markets in the Western Hemisphere. It's going to feel disjointed because, maybe in the 80s and 90s, people readily watched sports on tape, right? It still got a huge draw in ratings. That's not really a thing anymore. Nobody wants to do that except for really diehard fans. So that's something that's always going to work against it just because of geography. But it is a long season. I would never discount the type of exhaustion caused by travel. Like, the players are going all around the globe all year. I can't imagine what it's like to get used to different climates and altitudes and just all this time on a plane. And honestly, like you said, for me, the year-end finals never gained that sort of prestige that I was really, really excited to see these players lead into it. And for some people, that's true. Some people love the year-end finals on both sides. Overall, it's just been sort of hard to, get that really exciting feeling because it's not a slam. The four slams have such an outsized power over this sport. Everything is organized around them. I'm going to be honest right now, and you're not going to want to hear this.
Me?
Yeah, but I have found it really hard to get invested in tennis with all of this shit going on. It feels like the authoritarian moves in the US have really, really ramped up in the past few weeks. We're seeing, the consolidation of our already hugely concentrated mass media. They're remaking media in their image, and Ellison has just taken control of a huge swath of US media companies, including most likely TikTok. They're appointing Barry Weiss as the head of news at CBS. She is not a journalist. She's basically a grievance blogger, a polemicist, who will be brought in to destroy CBS News and 60 Minutes. I don't live in the US, so I am shielded from a lot of this stuff, but this is my country. It's really difficult to watch this happen with a very compliant Supreme Court and Congress. So yeah, I'm really distracted from tennis, and it is hard to feel passionate.
Okay, I hear you, but a lot of these two questions are trying to get us to focus on the Asian swing itself.
Yes.
For example, its place in the calendar. Is there a place in the calendar where it may be better suited?
Well, yes. There are a number of tournaments that I could do without. I won't go through them. You can probably guess a few of them.
Right, but a lot of those tournaments are part of a swing where players are in that part of the world playing on a specific type of surface. To move Beijing to where Madrid is doesn't really make sense if it's not,
of course, yeah,
at a very minimum going to be on clay. So like,
no,
is
but
it after the Australian
Yeah,
Open?
I think it might fit better in February, honestly. I do still think that there are too many Masters on both tours. There are too many commitments, and we'll get into that a little bit later because there's a question about that. That's extremely topical. But I understand that the tours have huge cash cow commitments in the Gulf states that they need to honor in February. That's not going to change anytime soon, but I think this swing would work much better as part of an Australia-Asia tour, almost. A section of the calendar.
Australasia?
Right. And they already say that the Australian Open is the Grand Slam of the Asia Pacific, right?
Yes.
So it feels like it would fit. And I think tennis should be in Asia. The fans are really excited about it. They have the best nicknames. They bring all these incredibly creative gifts for the players. Unfortunately, they get met with a lot of racism from players and fans, but this part of the world should have tennis there. It just seems not to be working for a lot of fans who are not in Asia.
We got an email in the last couple of days from Renee, and you have here noted on the agenda that it's been edited and abridged.
Yes, so I hope that I've kept the essence of your question. I don't want to misquote you here, but I did edit it down.
Via Renee, I saw certain parallels between what Yelena Ostapenko said to Taylor Townsend and Aryna Sabalenka's remarks after her loss to Coco Gauff. And I'm wondering about your views on that. I felt Sabalenka would never say what she said to a white opponent. Many people quickly gave her the benefit of the doubt, especially after a huge loss. The response to Ostapenko's remarks seemed to focus much more heavily on the racial undertones, which makes me wonder, was it due to Aryna's quick apology, the use of words class and uneducated, or am I missing some context? I don't think Aryna's apology was that quick. If I recall correctly, there was something, but then there was the full apology that came afterward.
There was a quick apology that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Remember? And then there was a more robust one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't believe I'm going to be saying this, but with a little bit of hindsight and what I know of Aryna and what I've seen of her, I almost feel like this is less racially coded for her and more to do with her just not feeling like Coco is as good a player as she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm even doubly aghast to say openly on this podcast that part of that is because Coco's game is often unsightly at times. Like it doesn't look great in spots.
Right.
Like when she's grafting on court, when she's in her full-on defensive mode, not able to hit through the court, not hitting a bunch of winners, it's giving my game isn't as good as yours to the untrained eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you expect somebody to be able to step up to the line and control the points, to control the way the game is played off their racket.
Mm-hmm.
When in that final in Paris, a lot of the control and the beauty in Coco's game when she's playing well against somebody who's as powerful as like a Sabalenka, and she's done it twice to her now, is that she hunkers down and does her business from a defensive point of view. Right? And so I can see how that lends one to believe that she's just not as good as the other person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But in the moment, and I can go back and listen, but at the time I don't really think I saw it from a racial aspect. And if you are someone who did, I'm certainly not here to tell you you're wrong, but I didn't get those undertones from those comments. I think the difference with Taylor and Ostapenko was truly that it was so personal, and that Ostapenko used such loaded words like class and education, with the eternal caveat that she meant manners.
Mm-hmm. But also the context was different. This was happening on U.S. soil in front of a much larger black crowd than you would normally see at a tennis match.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Against a beloved player to that demographic. Not just an American on American soil, but a black American who is beloved by black American fans.
Right.
To then say those things when you are just completely outclassed on court. See how I used it there? Mm-hmm. Like you got your ass whooped.
Right.
You were beaten squarely and soundly. This was not close.
Well,
the French Open final was close. It was a different kind of match. And so Yelena's response in that moment to be so hyper-focused on something that was completely immaterial to the result and the way the match actually turned out and how it was played was grasping at straws.
Right. And it was the hypocrisy around saying that somebody is rude and ill-mannered and has no class when you are literally Yelena Ostapenko.
The rudest and most ill-mannered.
Right. That's why it did not feel good to me, and it's why it's not something that I can forget going forward. I will not forget it when I see her again, right? With Sabalenka, it was poor loserism, and it was
Rude.
but it was directly aimed at Coco's game, and it was like, I'm somebody who should be able to hit anyone off the court, and I couldn't. And so while I didn't like it, I got it.
Neil J. Riley asks, is the new Venus and Serena podcast worth listening to? To start with, if this had come out even 2 years ago, I'd have been much more excited about taking it in. I am not in the least bit interested in it at this point. Mm-hmm. I've seen some clips because it's one of those video podcasts, and there have been some funny, cute moments from what I've seen. When Serena was fleeing the scene of a date and to go to the corner store to get some Doritos, and Venus knew exactly what she was getting, and they had this big laugh.
Mm-hmm. That was really cute, because that's like a sister inside joke that we get to be part of, you know?
And it seems like they're probably doing a good job, and it's worth listening to. You can let us know if you've watched it. But for us, the fact that it's on an X platform, it wasn't for me at this point.
So I actually wasn't going to take up the question on air because the answer is I don't know. I haven't listened to it. I really don't know. So I would actually be interested in what you all think.
Why haven't you listened to it?
I don't know. I haven't felt that urgency. I think I've said this before. I don't have a whole lot of interest in Serena's post-playing career. You know, I'm not really interested in investing. I'm not interested in what her husband's doing. We just don't have a lot in common outside of tennis, it turns out. So I just didn't expect there to be huge revelations, but I would watch it for those kind of sister interactions that are really cute and funny.
Dan Vasilich wants to know, how hard is it to balance the cultural issues on the podcast?
Like with tennis, I assume?
It could be
like
either.
Yeah.
You just talked about what it's like for you to be an American who is now a Canadian watching what's happening to your country from afar. This is a tennis podcast, but you somehow managed to get that related to the Asian swing in tennis.
Sure. And we don't have to talk about that. And a lot of sports podcasts would never come up. Right? It's just not part of their agenda, and that's fine.
But we also situate tennis and what happens on the court through a socio-political cultural lens as well. What happens on court is not separate from what happens off court. I think that's part of it as well.
Well, that's kind of the whole reason we started doing the show. I think it's been a long time since we've talked about like what are the core values of the Body Serve. Not to sound too corporate, but you know, what are the reasons we do this, and what are we hoping to accomplish by doing the podcast? We haven't really kind of laid out what we do in a long time, right?
I think you've seen too many Reddit comments saying that we're the bitchy queens from the north, or where there's a lot of sass,
which I'm sure there is.
No. Are we giving too much lighter fare at this point? Do you want to recenter the focus of the podcast?
No. Someone actually sent us in the direction of this Reddit thread and said, "Oh, you guys have gotten some really nice comments on there." And I never, ever, ever read that stuff because I'm very sensitive, believe it or not, to hate comments. But there were so many nice things that people said, and I'm very grateful for that. And then someone said, "Oh, I love my bitchy queens," or whatever. And I don't find that insulting, but it made me think, is that who we are? I don't know. Is that what we come off like? Maybe. But I hope that's not all we are. Right? When people say we're just funny, I'm kind of surprised because I don't really think of myself as funny. And then I'm like, oh, have we gotten too far from what we really wanted to do? I don't think so.
I think we are funny together.
Oh, you're saying I'm not funny alone. Is that what that means?
People like listening to people who have a camaraderie.
Banter.
Exactly. And so you can be funny by just being yourselves together. Right. I think that's what comes across. If I were to be so bold to say that. But back to the question at hand, how hard is it to balance the cultural issues on the podcast? We've covered several big topics over the years.
Honestly, it's usually not that hard. We kind of talk about what we want to talk about because there's nobody telling us what we should talk about. We're not reliant on advertising. We aren't really trying to kind of get access to tennis institutions, right? So the safeguards or the guardrails are listeners. If we get a lot of comments or if listenership drops off, or people say, why are you harping on this topic? That's the feedback. But that's kind of the only feedback, right?
Okay, there's more to do.
No.
There's more to suss out here.
That was a long way of saying, I think for us, when we build an agenda about what we want to talk about, it's really not that hard. I don't really think about balancing, the tennis and the cultural stuff and what's too much. I kind of just want to talk about what I want to talk about.
Right. If it's something that's a big issue, we've talked about it privately quite a bit before we've gone to air. We've gotten on the same wavelength as to how we want to approach it, whether that's in keeping with our ideals or ethics or morals or viewpoints of the world. Mm-hmm. It's not just talking out loud just for the sake of talking out loud. One of the worst things that can happen is when we say something and the very few times it passes through the safeguards of us talking to each other, of us recording beside each other, not stopping it in the moment, not stopping it in editing, and then it gets to air, and then we listen back to it or get feedback from people, and then we're like, well, damn, we missed the mark on that, or we don't feel like we did a good enough job on it. And that's the main reason why we are not the type of podcasters to try and be first. Whenever something happens, we always try to sit with it, think through it for a couple days, talk with each other, and then come to an approach that we want to attack, right? Mm-hmm. So long and short, by virtue of the whole ethos of this show being about how sport and culture intersects, it's never something that we're going to shy away from. It's something that we're going to always embrace. Our concern, and the part that becomes difficult, is trying to make sure that we get it right.
I will say that sometimes I think, okay, I guess we have to talk about the results, even when I don't really want to, just because it feels like we should since we're a tennis podcast. There is a balancing act there for me.
The Big Joker says, as followers of tennis, how much does the year-end number one ranking matter to you? I always looked at rankings as a snapshot without much care for timing. Do either of you apply any heft to being world number one on December 31st / January 1st? I thought this was a very good question.
It is, yeah. I like that there's both. I like that there's importance given to a year-end number one, and I also like the rolling ranking system. There's something to be said about just having an altogether great season. The fact that Novak Djokovic has, I think, 8 year-end number ones, that feels right. It feels kind of normal to me. Okay.
I also think that it doesn't mean that much. I think it's one of those... It's kind of a secondary or tertiary stat, an add-on stat to supplement and give more heft to other stats. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you won the calendar year Grand Slam. Hell, you won 2 majors in a year. What does year-end number one mean compared to that? It's a type of stat where you say, well, this person did so, and so. Oh, and then they also were 8-time year-end number one in their career.
Right.
As a means of separation from, in Novak's case, the other 2 members of the big 3.
I do think that weeks at number one is the stat as far as rankings go. Way more important than year-end to me, because weeks at number one is saying, at any given week, I have put together an incredible non-calendar year, right? I've been defending titles. Points are not falling off my ranking. That's real consistency. Because some people can have a year-end number one, and you look back and you're like, how did that happen?
Sure, and then you also have somebody like Rafa Nadal, who doesn't have as many year-end number one rankings. Mm-hmm. And that may have been in large part due to playing on indoor hard courts.
Right.
For a decent swath of the season.
Not winning
certain parts of the year after giving his all up until the US Open. His body wasn't bodying for the last couple months of the season throughout his career. And so that's always kind of colored my view of it as well. Because it was never going to be that for him, this stretch of the season.
No, because it's a commentary on how you play within these constraints. And part of these constraints is a long period in the fall where other players might shine and you don't.
Is it more impressive to win those string of clay court tournaments a minimum of 5 times each, sometimes 10, sometimes more than 10? Or is it more important to have a year in number one ranking? You know, to blitz through that swing once or twice, or to be year in number one once. It becomes a matter of preference in a sense.
Yeah.
What do you value in tennis? Because to me, the stuff that Rafa did on clay is far more impressive than winning a year-end championship. But that might not be the case for other people.
I guess you'd have to ask the players too, what they value. For me, I'm glad it's there. I do think it's a really important stat, but weeks at number one is always what I'm going to look at personally.
A non-tennis question, Daydreamer Oz asked on Blue Sky, I understand James works in HR. Do you have any advice on how to deal with workplace narcissists and bullies?
This is so funny. Thank you for the question. Right off the bat, don't ignore bullies. It doesn't. Your parents tell you to ignore bullies. It does not work. It has never worked. They only get more inflamed, more encouraged to pick on you if you ignore.
So this is your perspective as an HR professional.
Oh, sure. But I got to give you the real tea here, because sometimes HR is not going to give you all the answers. Firstly, it depends if the bully and or narcissist is your manager, because that's a whole different animal. But if it's a colleague, you know, I have a few tips. I would say look into the recording laws in your jurisdiction. I know some people at work want to record their meetings and their colleagues. Please pay attention to the laws. In Ontario, we are a one-party consent province, which means if you are a participant of a conversation, you are legally allowed to record it. However, that is not part of employment law. So your company may have a policy that bans that, and that's okay. You can get fired for cause for that if it's part of your company's policies. So be careful about recording people. But document everything. Document everything that is said, especially if you think this will rise to the level of a complaint. At the same time, and this is an annoying caveat, if you are saving up years of evidence kind of to wait to see what will push you over the edge to have a real case against someone, this will hurt your credibility, because it'll be seen as you building up this evidence and making a case to try to take somebody down. You know, go after the things that are recent and fresh and really grievous. At work, figure out who you can trust, if anyone. A lot of times it's not anyone at work. You may not be able to trust anyone. Most workplaces will tell you to understand the respect in the workplace policies, the bullying and harassment policies, and make a complaint when warranted. And a lot of workplaces are highly competent and conscientious and will follow through with an investigation. I've seen this be successful in my own workplaces where these allegations were factually substantiated. Like, it does happen, but you also have to know that sometimes it does not work in your favor. And sometimes you will be seen as the complainer. And part of that is kind of knowing, is your workplace one of those who gets it right? And sometimes you don't know that. It's really frustrating. I will say that if you do complain and an investigation is launched and nothing happens, it doesn't go in your favor, you will not be at that job very much longer. You will either leave voluntarily or you may be exited.
It depends on the type of job you're in.
It certainly does.
Because we both know from having worked in the same restaurant together that those bullies and narcissists fester. And they themselves are often the ones doing the complaining about other people as well. Mm-hmm. And they just stay like cockroaches. So
yeah,
the rules of regular workplace environments do not apply to restaurants at all.
No.
Which is why I'm just sitting here keeping my mouth shut, because I don't know what you... I don't recognize what you're talking about.
World.
No.
In the corporate world, I think you have to do this dance where you don't want to be seen as one of those people who makes frivolous complaints. You want to be seen as someone who makes legitimate complaints, right? That's tricky. But as you know, if you're not trying to take this to a complaint and investigation process, part of it is just, and first of all, not taking shit, not ignoring it, standing up for yourself and saying, do not speak to me with disrespect. I did that in a workplace and it shocked me one time. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my mouth. Like I couldn't believe that I was standing up for myself like that. We just talked about that last night at home. Demand to be treated with respect.
I find that I'm quite gifted at making people miserable. If I need to be. If I need to. Mm-hmm. You know, if somebody's going to try and come for me or make my life unreasonable at work, there's steps that can be taken.
Right.
You know? And without taking it to a management level, I'm not advocating for you not escalating things up the chain. For me, especially in anything goes kind of work environment, like a restaurant
where harassment is rife.
Like I can make your life miserable with doing very little. You know? So
yes,
try it.
Yes. No, I agree. And that's why I said this is not official HR advice, because that's not holistic enough. And part of the reason you're able to do that is because you are undeniably competent. Right? And so that's part of my advice is be competent. Make it impossible for people to discount the work that you do. They may not like you, they may take credit for your accomplishments, but nobody can say you don't know what you're doing.
Not only that, pick your battles. I tell people this all the time at work. People who are coming to me to be like, can you believe so-and-so? I'm going to say something. And I say, well, take a step back. What is going to come of saying something about this? Is it really that egregious? Is it really that big of a deal in the grander scheme of things? Because there's going to be something else that's going to feel more egregious than this. And then you're going to be naturally inclined to say, well, I need to talk about this too. Mm-hmm. Because that was much smaller, and I said something about that, so then no, I have to say something about this. The run-on effect is that you just become the girl or boy who cried wolf.
Right.
You just keep yapping and complaining. And I don't care what workplace you're in, nobody wants to deal with that. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to be having complaints at on their table, at their door every single day.
Yeah.
And so what I always frame to people when counseling or giving advice about this is, it gives the effect of being much more impactful when you don't complain. And so when you do complain, people are inclined to take you more seriously. Because this is something that's actually, I mean, not actually, it's something that you feel so compelled to talk about. Mm-hmm. People who are compelled to complain about everything need to understand the definition of compel.
Well, they're going to be ignored. Yeah.
And this does not apply to sexual harassment. This does not apply to... I should hope that we know we're talking about...
Yeah, to be clear. You should action that every time.
Exactly. Right? We're talking about minor inconveniences in the workplace.
Or just like toxic personalities, right?
You work with people. I would say a plurality of people are complete shit to work with. Most people...
A plurality?
Yeah, most people don't like their jobs. If you're in a job for a long enough time, you're going to hate your job. You're not going to like it. It's going to become a chore. And people are having that same experience. And so everybody's showing up to work mad about it.
And they need to remember who the real enemy is.
Exactly.
I saw this advice on TikTok a few times about how you should, in organizations, you should find allies and people who will be your champion. And so if your manager is not that person who can advance your career or will support you and highlight your achievements, you got to find that person somewhere, right? Reach out to people directly and say, will you mentor me? Can I have a half hour of your time to talk about my career? People really love talking about themselves and they like being flattered. So if that's an option for you, try that.
Again, a world I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
Because I'm more like, trust nobody.
Trust no bitch. And finally, I will say some workplaces they're not going to be fixed. Some are toxic. If this toxic, narcissistic person is your manager, sometimes you're just not going to stay at this job. right? Sometimes it just is not going to be fixed. If all else fails, plot their demise.
Yes,
And I'm being
absolutely
so serious
absolutely.
right now. Plot their demise. 1,000 cuts.
Or just one big one. We've still got a bunch more questions that we're going to answer next week. We're going to bank those. If I'm being totally honest, part of the reason for soliciting these questions was I knew somebody would ask about Mariah's new album. And I wanted it to be a nice segue to be able to talk about it without us just throwing it on you. So you can't say that this is not an organic part of the show because we were asked. I still don't know how to pronounce this. Were we told?
Ubi Kutkus.
Okay. We were asked, unrelated to tennis, but what are y'all's top 3 songs from Mariah's new album right now? And I love the right now because it changes daily. I've listened to it so much in the past week that maybe it changes every 2 days now. And it's incredibly difficult to name just 3. So I'll just go with which are the 3 that I find myself listening to most right now. Because I'm in the stage of a new Mariah album where I'm skipping through songs to just listen to the ones that I really want to listen to. And that tells me what my current top 3 are.
Okay.
Do you want to start with that? What our
Sure.
top 3 are?
Yeah.
My top 3 are Here for It All, My Love, and Me. And I want to say that Caution, her last album in 2018, it's been 7 years since we got a brand new studio album. It was a banger. It was so good. The most critically acclaimed album of her career. This one, it's difficult to compare to that. But the one thing I want to say is she has added a song to her legacy on this album. Because Here for It All will go down as one of her greatest songs that she's ever written and recorded and sung. That is no small feat, 35 years into a career as stellar and sparkling as hers.
It may not be recognized as such in the annals of history, but it is.
It is interesting. It's got lyricism. I find myself discovering something new about it every time I listen to it. I love it. What are your 3?
So Here for It All is one of my 3. Play the song with Anderson .Paak. Love the Philadelphia Soul thing. He's clearly carrying it over from Silk Sonic, his project with Bruno Mars. And the first time I heard the song, are we supposed to talk about it? Or should I just...
No. We're going to go from song to song.
Wow.
But...
Okay, play this song.
Uh-huh.
And this might change. But right now, it's Jesus I Do with the Clark Sisters.
Okay. Thematically, what are the big themes on this album? And part of why I was excited to do this is because we've never done a new Mariah album review on this show. Maybe we did a little bit on Caution.
I feel like that would have been weird if we didn't.
But I feel like we didn't do a track by track kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so what are the big themes here?
Well, I don't feel like in Mariah's catalog you hear her talk a lot about her own mortality. This felt like something novel for this album. You hear sprinklings of it in some of the gospel records that she's done because that's such a central theme of gospel music in general. But in Here for It All and in a few other songs, you hear Mariah talking about basically what will happen when I'm gone, when I'm no longer here, and talking about herself in a past tense. I found that very striking, especially in a year in which she suffered massive personal losses. For somebody who doesn't acknowledge the passing of time and jokes that she's eternally 12, Mariah is a 56-year-old woman who is...
Some say 55.
Or 55. You know, it's a Joan Crawford vibe, and not really sure of her birth year. But she's somebody who has been forced to look into the face of death.
It's an album that borrows or pays homage to many of her previous works. So many of the songs you can trace them back to different eras of her career, which is different from a lot of her previous works where it felt like a self-contained album.
But I don't feel like it's massively self-referential in a way that she has been in the past.
In terms of...
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not talking lyrically.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking sound.
I don't know. Well, you continue.
Where you could listen to this song and say, oh, this could have been on that album. This sounds like that album. This sounds like that album.
Oh, you know what? Actually, The few times I felt like that were Confetti and Champagne, which is probably my least favorite song on the album because
we are ending the recording right now.
No, seriously, to me it felt like it could have been a cast off from Chanteuse or maybe a lesser Memoirs track.
No, to me it's Caution. To me it's a Caution track.
I don't know, the trap beat didn't really feel like it fit. And I love that there's like a very eclectic approach to genre on this album. It wasn't hitting for me.
Okay. Diamonds are everywhere on this album.
Yes. Is that a
Sometimes multiple times within one song. I like my wrist froze. Check out the light show.
Right.
Talking about Harry Winston Diamond. Like, there's so many references to diamonds. And where this comes in, we'll start with track 1 with Me, M.I. It's a play on Mimi. Mm-hmm. You know, she just chopped it in half. Jermaine Dupri once said recently that he'd be in the studio with Mariah and just trying to get her to sing a song. Just sing a note, hold a note. But at the core of it, Mariah's a rapper.
Right.
And that's what Me is. She's talking her shit on this song. And she's doing it in such a seamless, effortless way that's not cringy. Rappers are out here talking about their quote-unquote bitches, their bling, their cars, their this. She's doing all that and finally leaning into the divaness of what it is to be Mariah.
Well, because Mariah is not a fake fan, right? She is a hip-hop fan from back in the day, from the late 80s. She's not faking it, but she really listens to it. It's part of her, just part of what made her as a musician.
This album starts with her saying, I don't care about much if it ain't about me. Let the money talk first. Conversations ain't free. I'm the DIVA, that's MC. I'm the hot toddy hottie body, yeah, that's T. When you read those lyrics, that's a rap record.
Yeah.
And then she goes on to say, I'm a bad bitch, but I'm good company. You would know that if you really knew me. Singing it in beautiful tones. Mm-hmm. Rap singing it. Rap Raya is here on this song.
And it just sort of dawned on me, it is kind of similar in the way that Beyonce opens Renaissance with I'm That Girl. It's basically a hip-hop track. And the way that she ends it, right? The way that Mariah ends Here for It All is a ballad that turns into an ascension.
Track 2 is the Anderson .Paak record.
Mm-hmm. So I started talking about the Philadelphia soul genre, and at first it turned me off, honestly, because I felt this way with Bruno Mars before. He has dabbled in so many different genres that sometimes it feels very derivative because the recreations are so accurate that it feels like, okay, you're just sort of copying, which maybe is kind of a backhanded compliment. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess Anderson's still doing his Silk Sonic thing, but the song is just such a vibe. The xylophones in the background that you can always hear on those great soul records with all those great man bands, right? Like the Stylistics, the OJs, later on the Commodores. Like, it just feels so accurate to the genre. I love it.
One of the best things you can say about a song is that if it clocks in at 3 minutes and 44 seconds, but it always feels like it's done in 2 minutes, that tells you you're doing something right.
Yeah.
The first release from this album was Type Dangerous. At this point, it kind of feels out of place on the album, to me. I don't know if you feel the same way.
If I'm being honest, I might skip this one. I mean, I have skipped this one. That's what I mean.
It's still a good song.
Yeah. The Mr. Beast cameo in the video totally ruined this for me. It was so stupid. And the fact that she went on that streaming, who was that, with Kai Cenat or whatever, that is so not a Mariah thing. And then when she left, they talked shit about her and saying she was just there to promote her album. She wasn't down with what we do. Why should Mariah Carey be down with what do you do? What was she supposed to do?
Track 4, Sugar Sweet. We've disagreed about this track from the moment it was snippeted by Mariah before the song was even released.
Who didn't like it?
You.
Oh, okay. Well, now I like it.
Okay. This could be the best song on the album. It could be. You could make a credible argument for it. It is such a bop. It is such a vibe. And that just shows to me that you're still not quite there.
I'm not quite there.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you why. I feel like
because you don't know what Gizada is. And it's a coconut dessert and you wouldn't like it anyway.
I think the song is massively helped by both Kehlani and Shensi. Like, I feel like they need to be on it.
Oh, don't tell that to the fans.
I know, I like their verses a lot, but I felt like the beat really should have leaned further into the Afrobeats thing. I like the song, but I think a more creative beat could have really elevated it.
Mm-hmm. In your feelings, this is the song that's growing most on me.
This is kind of a companion to Play This Song. You know, it's a similar genre exercise in the 70s soul thing. She's playing a lot with the rhythm of how she wrote the lyrics, and I think
you might be getting a little bit too...
Yes. Which ends up being really successful.
Nothing is Impossible, track 6. This is a big time fave of the fans.
Yeah, the Lamely.
And it is one of my least favorite songs on the album. It was the case when I first listened to the album. It remains the case now. And while I love that we're getting stripped down vocals, while I love that we're getting what folks describe as a movie soundtrack kind of instrumentation to it.
Yeah, I hear that.
Which is unusual for a Mariah record. The lyrics on it don't work for me. They just don't. At all.
Oh.
We've done the inspirational stuff before, and the trouble with writing a record like this is that it often can veer into schmaltz, which is a rap that Hero had for many, many years before it just became this thing of its own.
Rightfully so.
Yes. But, it was a schmaltzy song.
Yeah.
Mariah herself didn't like it. I just don't think, compared to a lot of the writing on this album, that it was as tight or as good as the other songs. And also, I don't think her voice shines through on this song, especially in the back end of it.
Yeah, what's interesting is when she recorded Here for It All, she told Andy Cohen that she was in really good voice that day. She certainly was. That was true. That's some of the best vocals she's put on record in a long time. Nothing is Impossible. It felt like,
It was one of your favorites on first listen.
I said I liked it.
You told me that.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did. I like the call and response whistle tones at the end. I really like that. But you know how Whitney used to just sing a song through and that was that? For better or for worse. It did feel like Mariah left some vocals on the track that normally she wouldn't have. That she's too much of a perfectionist to leave. Some of it felt strained.
This is one of the common reviews of this album, is that she's a lot more vulnerable on this record. Maybe that was by design.
Maybe. I'm glad. We'll get to the Pitchfork review, but...
Confetti and Champagne. One of the best parts of this album is cheers to me, not you, just me. Clearly you don't like it. On first listen, it was one of my favorite tracks. It's now a comfortable 7.
Okay.
Right now for me. I Won't Allow It, another of my not so faves. I know I'm in the big minority with Nothing is Impossible and I Won't Allow It. It just does nothing for me.
For me, it's just a fun disco track.
It's a kiss-off song.
I love a disco song.
It feels like it could have been on Charm Bracelet. It feels... This is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It didn't give me anything new or interesting, whereas so many songs on this album was something new sonically for her, I felt. Even if it was referencing something else. We hadn't heard her do a Play This Song type song before.
Right.
As smooth and easy and effortless as she did, staying in one vocal range basically the whole song. Now this is really the sweet spot of the album.
Yeah.
The last 3 tracks. Track 9, My Love, which is a cover of Paul McCartney's 1973, I want to say.
Yes.
Wings?
With Wings.
Wings song. And it's the song where her voice is most reminiscent of the Mariah we may remember growing up with.
Oh, you think so?
I think so, yeah. In her belting range.
Yeah. My Love it's kind of a weird song.
It is.
The original, it's
choppy.
There's not much to it, right? There's not really a chorus. The the verses just sort of lead into this one ascending hook.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
No, I meant like the My Love Does It Good, that part.
Okay.
But yes. It leads into that. And that's the only hook. There's no chorus. This was actually seen as Wings' big breakthrough in the United States.
It was a number one hit.
It was a number one hit. It was, I guess, the first time Paul McCartney was credited as Paul McCartney and Wings. It was always just Wings. And it's a song he wrote for Linda. But there's not much to it. It's kind of a strange song. It's schmaltzy, almost on purpose. But God, nobody can write like a trifle like Paul McCartney.
Mm-hmm. What I appreciate about it is that this song features her voice. It's all about her voice. And for all the talk about what her voice is or isn't at this stage in her career, to lay a track down where I'm looking forward to hearing her voice and being impressed by what her voice sounds like on its own, not being drowned out by a beat or a harmony or all these other trappings in the recording process. It's just laid bare. Mm-hmm. She did a really good job. And then when the first whoa, 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 whoa comes in, it feels like when you come home from a shit day and you get to sit down for the first time and just be like,
yes.
That's what it feels like.
It's the resolution, right?
It is.
It features her backup singers really nicely as well. It feels like the angels are coming in when they sing My Love Does It Good.
Featuring again the spirituality of this record. Mm-hmm. Even on Nothing Is Impossible, which I have said I don't really care for, she in the lyrics says, "But I was never alone, the spirit lives in my soul, so I never let go. I knew deep down inside that I could fly." She's at a point in her life and career where we could almost call this album the religiosity of Mimi.
Yes.
Like there's Jesus all over this record. It's always been a part of her career from the start. Mm-hmm. Emotions, that could be a gospel record.
Talk about religious ecstasy, right? With the whistles.
Anytime You Need a Friend, tracks on the first Christmas album. People think of Mariah and gospel music and they think, oh, well, she did Fly Like a Bird once. But no, she did I Wish You Well. Mm-hmm. She did My Saving Grace.
Right. That one on Chanteuse that the name escapes me.
Heavenly.
No Ways Tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here we get multiple songs that gives you the spirit.
Right. And there's nothing older than mixing romantic love with religious love. The pronoun he just works well, right?
Track 10, we know as stands that Mariah's favorite singer in all the land, male singer, is
Stevie Wonder.
And her favorite woman singer is
Karen Clark Sheard.
Yes. And so it comes as no surprise that she is able to put this song out with the Clark sisters. And it's called Jesus I Do. And with those big voices, you may have expected something loud. It was so soft. It was a soft up-tempo, and it worked so well.
It was definitely giving like the Clark sisters funky gospel music. It was co-written by 3 of the Clark sisters as well.
And it wasn't Mariah being, oh, I'm the lead here on this track. It was Mariah starting the song, and then they all took turns, and they all harmonized, and they created a bop.
Mm-hmm. I like when Mariah does these features, and she really adopts the sound of the artist she's working with. An example is Beautiful with Miguel. Of course, Breakdown, the most classic version of it with Bone Thugs. She's adopting the Clark sisters sound fully in this song. This is not a Mariah song, right? This is a Clark sisters song. I would love to hear if they did like an extended praise break or shout at the end, what that could sound like.
Which made me kind of wish she had brought them back for the outro of Here For It All.
Yeah.
She ends the album with the title track, Here For It All. She says that she wanted to name the album Here For It All because she wanted you to stay till the end. This was a song that she was most proud of. And rightfully so. Like, we saw her play snippets in the lead up to this release and each time be emotional about it.
Yeah.
And you can interpret the lyrics in any number of ways. You can reasonably think that she's singing about her children, that she's singing about her mother. Last year, both her mother and her sister died on the same day. Mm-hmm. Wild. just last night, you were listening to some Jasmine Sullivan, and you were telling me about how her mother had died recently.
Yes. She hasn't performed a lot.
And then I said to you jokingly, I said, well, Mariah's mother and sister died on the same day. She wins.
Yeah, and I said it's not a competition.
And I said, I'm clearly making a joke. And then it clicked to me, we're going to bring it back to tennis here. This is what stand-up as a disease is. Because there are people who would do that.
Yeah. And be dead serious about it.
Dead serious about it. Like that I felt in that moment that perfectly encapsulated what is wrong with stand-up. Anyway.
So sings through the song, and you think it's over, and it moves into this, basically it's a 2-measure vamp, where she says, rehearsal, test flight.
Yeah.
And it just vamps for about 3 minutes, the same chords over and over, and she's just improvising over the music.
Before we get into that, you've glossed over some of my favorite lyrics of her entire career.
Yeah.
She says in verse 2, and rainbows will always remind you of me. Please remember to look for them diligently. For me, for me. She goes on to say, but if you leave, just whisper something softly to the wind you want Mariah to hear. But if you please, just stay with me a while and help me laugh through the tears till I'm gone. Like, that shit, like, hit like a ton of bricks.
Yes. My God, Mariah devours a second verse. And this time in a different way.
Yeah. Because it's barely sung.
Right. You know, I'm thinking of like, okay, on Heartbreaker, she sings the second verse like her life depends on it.
It's like
it's
like you've picked up the phone, answered the phone in the middle of the night, and somebody's just whispering in your ear. That's what the first half of this song sounds like. But you're being hit with all these heavy lyrics. Overall, I think the only song on Caution that there were 2 songs on Caution that I didn't really care for. One More Again and Portrait.
Right.
And I know that's heresy for a lot of the lambs to say Portrait. So that's 8 out of 10. Here, it's 9 of 11. So like it's an equitable output for me personally. I'm satisfied. I'm happy. I have something new to listen to. It's 39 minutes. Often that's exactly how long it takes me to get to work.
I just find this is economical. There aren't a lot of excesses. And that was the critique of her for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was probably at its worst on Chanteuse.
Yes.
And a lot of overproduction on the vocals. She's feeling less pressure to sound like I used to sound. You know, I'm not going to sound like Daydream Mariah ever again. And that's fine because that's normal. And there's this reckoning with herself aging in sort of a oblique way and dealing with mortality and stuff that I don't think we've really seen in such a sincere way.
And part of the overproduction was trickery.
Yes.
There was an attempt
was my problem.
to trick the listeners into this is what I can still sound like. And we've seen it all.
She chopped up phrases.
Yes.
And it wasn't only like, I did this in one take. It was like, I did this one line in 5 different takes and you could hear it, which I didn't like. That felt sloppy to me. You don't get that here. This is what I feel the Pitchfork review missed. It was too focused on, Mariah's voice doesn't sound like it used to.
Well, no shit, Sherlock.
Right. But it also said, it was like so damaged that she's flirting with alternate keys, which is a lie. Like, open your ears. There's also autotune, by the way, so there's no risk of flirting with alternate keys here.
Rolling Stone gave her a 3 out of 5, gave that Showgirl album a 5 out of 5.
Yep.
Like this is...
I said I did not want to talk about this.
This is all payola. I'm just saying this stuff is all payola.
About the Pitchfork review, I was gonna say I actually appreciate that there are still publications that will do real music critique. Even though I didn't agree with their conclusion, they made a lot of good points. I appreciate that this person felt freedom to speak freely and actually do a critique when so much of music criticism is basically like advertorial content at this point. It's clearly paid. You brought up Swift, but it also works in the favor of my other fave, Beyonce, right? I think a lot of publications are afraid to do any form of critique at all on a few very major artists in the industry. But what what Variety and Rolling Stone are doing is absolutely shameful garbage. I would say that for anybody.
So you did your top 3. What would have been your top 5 or 6? What else would have made it in there?
I would have added In Your Feelings because I feel like it's kind of a companion to Play This Song. And I probably would have added My Love.
What would have been number 6?
Gizada. Sugar Sweet.
Those are my top 6 as well. Here for It All, in no particular order. Here for It All, Jesus I Do, My Love, that's 3. In Your Feelings, 4. Sugar Sweet, 5. Play This Song, and Me. So that's my top 7.
Oh, okay.
So what you're saying is you don't like Me. Not Me, but
M.I.,
the track opener.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not one of my favorite 6. You asked for 6.
Yeah, and it should be in the top 6.
Okay, well, it's my opinion.
Okay. That brings us to the end of this episode. My name is Jonathan. You can find me on Blue Sky at Tennis John.
I'm James at ElliotJMR.
2 L's, 2 T's.
Follow us on Instagram. Thank you so much for the people who followed after the last episode. We are at The Body Serve on Instagram.
Everything Body Serve related can be found at linktree.com/thebodyserve. A few people have been purchasing stuff from Redbubble recently. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
A few buttons, a few pins,
You love
stickers.
to see it.
So thank you. We haven't really been promoting that because Redbubble, in all honesty, sucks. In terms of like what they changed their profit sharing.
Oh, they did?
They did. Like it's like pennies at this point. But we want the stuff to be out there for people to be able to have it. So that's just yet another form of support, and we appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.
Thank you very much.